Hey, what's up guys? Books Nelson here, back with another video covering the Cerebral set coming out on Friday. So these, and also we're going to talk a little bit about the Apology Tour thing, because that's been brought up a lot recently with all of the playoff content. Just wanted to give you guys my commentary on that situation. So let's get right into the content. So the high-end cards, we'll deal with that in a second. Let's look at what the pink diamonds and the opals are looking like. So Opal, well, let's start from the bottom. Symbol art, he's going to be big. He's probably going to be very, very slow. So I highly doubt he'll be a good card. Sohan, his shot is still going to be on slow. I believe it's on slow, and it's always a pretty slow jumper. He's going to probably play excellent defense and not do much else on the court for you. And this Koulibaly card, not super familiar with him. I know we had to use him. You see there, Dwight Howard. I was checking his height. Let's see this. Bilal, so he's 6'6". Does he have any good animations? He has an 86 ball handle. Oh, LeBron dribble style, John Wall escape, Jimmy step back. You know what? This card might not be terrible, actually. At the 2 guard, 6'6" 2 guard, he might not be unusable. Yeah, so he might be solid. So I would say these pink diamonds are not really going to be super useful, but they'll be all right, especially with the playoff set out there. I think you're pretty good at all of the positions covered here. And remember, you do also have that free DeAndre Ayton at the time of this recording as well. So Amen Thompson. Now, we do expect Amen Thompson to be good. Let's take a quick look at what Amen is working with right now. So Amen Thompson, solid card. Obviously, always played, well, not always, but usually played with the duo. So the Chris Paul dribble style, we'll see if that gets upgraded. A lot of this pro stuff going on. Not the best size up. Yeah, the escape should be fine. Looks like maybe he has Booker escape. I'm not sure. So yeah, I think that, and then his shot is probably going to go on to very quick or quick. A Pro 3 leaner is kind of a killer, and I doubt they change that. So I think this will be more or less like an athletic. If he can still play the PG as well, an athletic PG. Good size, 6'7", actually incredible size. He's going to really be able to dunk the ball. You see here, he already had juice stats, and his pink diamond version got even better shots, so you know he's going to be able to shoot. So this might actually be a solid 2 guard. I just don't know if he really plays with, like, well, I guess you can play him at the 1, but with Clyde and Shea and all of those cards, I just don't know if he cracks that lineup. There's been so many good point guards. And I don't think he has the release to play the 2, so I'm going to say no on him. Donovan Mitchell would be a little surprising if he matches up with that rust that we just got. I think he'll be serviceable, but not super great. And the same thing for the Dwight Howard, probably serviceable, not super great. His release should be sped up, which will help the card a lot. And he's going to be super great defensively, super athletic. We'll see what SIGs they give him. That's what I was looking at before, because this Dwight can actually already dribble. He has an 86 ball handle. And he has pro dribble style. As you know on this channel, if he has pro dribble style, I am 100% fine with that. And in my opinion, this actually, I'm not going to say this made Dwight underrated, but the fact that the whole community of my team pretty much didn't know how to use the pro dribble style and were saying like it's terrible, I think that did cause a little bit of underrating of what Dwight could do on the court. That haven't been said. The new one, if he gets a new size up, which I 100% believe he will get, and a quicker release timing, I actually do think this is a power forward that might be able to play. I think this power forward might be able to play in the game. So I'm kind of curious about that Dwight Howard. But really, it could be, I mean, unless, Amen Thompson gets juiced, he could be saving these non-lock-ins. But at the same time, you look at what the lock-ins are, and there's a lot of good news in the lock-ins, right? So you've got, obviously we can ignore the 100 overall Tim Duncan. Almost no one's going to pull him. But Paul George, one of the best cards all year. He's in that group of cards that's been super, super good all year. Honestly, all they need to do is give Paul George Pro 2 leaner, and he just skyrockets into one of the best 2 guards in the game. Oscar Robertson. So this is going to be an interesting one, because he's already got the meta release, because his release is so high, right? And without his release sped up, and without SIGs that allow him to exploit that, you don't really have to deal with it quite as much. But if he gets Jamal Murray or James Harden or even Tyrese Halliburton behind the back with that jumper, he could actually shoot up to the elite of the point guards in the game because of his release on very quick. So I'm definitely curious to see what that's like. I would not write Oscar Robertson off as a 6'5" point guard who could push his way into the meta. DeMar DeRozan. DeMar's got some good stuff with him. Great layup package. Good leaner. But at 6'6", at the 2 guard, he's just got really, really, really stiff competition. As we talked about in other videos, Glenn Rice, Dr. J, Ron Artest. If you have any of those 3 cards, one of them is very attainable. 2 of them are gambling, as is this card. He has no way of making your lineup. And even with the cards that are a notch down below, Chris Middleton, excellent 6, just basically across the board. Kyle Korver and Mike Miller, even. I think I value those cards because I think they're just so easy to shoot with. They just raise the skill level of most in the community. Yours truly included. And I'm actually a pretty good shooter now. Shooting in 2K hasn't usually been a strength of mine, but this year I'm a much, much better shooter because I'm taking the game a little more seriously. But even for me, you pick up that Kyle Korver and it's just like, oh man, I can take anything I want. Will DeMar DeRozan persuade you off of those cards? Again, a very, very deep position. Ralph Sampson. So this is huge news, pun intended, because he really is going to be able to. We haven't gotten a ton of versatile bigs, and the Dikembe is the only one really available. I guess Artis Gilmore is fantastic, and they had Wilt available for a while, and Wilt is still very good. Wilt's still really dominant, actually, as an athlete and a defender. If you can hit shots with Wilt, which I don't think is that hard, Wilt is actually fantastic. But yeah, this Ralph Sampson could be one of the better bigs in the game. In fact, let's quickly look at his older cards, because he doesn't really have much going on in the game. But we know he's 7'4", 7'8" wingspan. He used to have a smaller wingspan back in the day, I think, right? Am I wrong on that? I feel like he had a shorter wingspan back in the day. But yeah, so and what's his release talking about? DeAndre Jordan and default big. We'll see what that. Well, he's a dark matter, so they can give him anything. So yeah, obviously this guy is going to be probably the number 1 card you're looking for. But at the same time, Paul George can easily make a lot of lineups at the 2 or the 3 is my suspicion. And not just because of like how good he is, but because I think he presents a little bit of a different style, and he's just got that great size. The people who like size, the people who like his jumper, he has a very easy, pleasant jumper to use. I could see them using him over, say, a Dr. J or a Ron Artest, because he's going to defend as well as those cards, most likely. But at the same time, he's got maybe a shot and a height that you like more if you don't use SIGs a whole lot, right? So I do think that Paul George and Ralph Sampson almost definitely play. I think Oscar Robertson has a chance, even with the glut at the point guard position. He has a shot. And then speaking of having a shot, Tim Thomas, I expect this to be, I would be surprised if this is not the Tim Thomas of old. Pink Diamond ruled the game for almost half the year. Tim Thomas was once like basically the Pink Diamond Kobe of the game, where he was just the early souped up version that you would start seeing. It would take a long time for cards to catch up to him. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Thomas gets the treatment. And I'm very excited to see if that happens, because at the 3 is a little behind the 2. Right? We talked about it. Dr. J, Ron Artest, Glenn Rice. Yes, all of those cards can play the 3, but they don't have the size of a Kirilenko and stuff like that. Tim Thomas might be that 3 that is like actually dominant from his position. And Dark Matter Joe Johnson, 6'8". I'm real curious about the SIGs and the jumper, but he can play. And again, if you've missed out on those other cards, it might be a situation where he plays for you because you haven't lucked out yet, right? So if you're running that Chris Middleton, Mike Miller, Kyle Korver, the cards that you can actually acquire, you might bring in that Joe Johnson, especially if you didn't get Glenn Rice. People talk about Glenn Rice like everybody gets Glenn Rice, but that is kind of a long ride. So I don't assume that everybody watching this video got Glenn Rice. All right, so that being said, quickly talk about the Apology Tour in this playoff set. Does this qualify as Apology Tour content? I absolutely believe it does. This fits exactly the criteria of what I was talking about. There was stuff to do in game, ton of free rewards, and it's going to keep going. This is just round 1. So obviously there's going to be a round 2 conference finals and an NBA finals version of this. So this is the Apology Tour content. Now, the thing that I'm not going to say wrong about, because I wasn't like 2K is guaranteed going to do 5 weeks of this and then an Apology Tour is going to come right after. No, I was saying that's what I suspected would be the plan, right? That we would get Magic Johnson and then we would get the Apology Tour at some point after that. And the reason I thought it would be sooner, if I was guessing, is because I knew that if they went on for a long time where it was gambling content and all of the best cards were behind just buying packs, then and MT was worthless, that would be really harmful to the community. Now, MT is still mostly worthless, right? All you're doing is locking in for a dark matter. The only reason it's gotten better is because for the most part, there have been a lot less joke dark matters, right? A lot less troll dark matters in the collection. So there are some collections that I would say, oh yeah, lock into that. You're guaranteed to improve your lineup if you're either new to the game or if you've had really bad luck with the opals leading up to that point. There are a couple of sets that I can say you can pretty safely lock in and either have a chance to at least get a decent card or have a chance to get an awesome card. Now, is that a structure I like? No. Is that a structure that I think is good for the community? No. But if you can use your MT to get a good card, I'm going to acknowledge that, even if there's an element of it that I strongly dislike. Whereas before, if there was 1 or 2 good opals and then 4 opals that don't help your lineup and you're locking in for that, this gave you a high possibility of just going bust. And some of the dark matter collections are still like that. I think last week's collection was like that, right? With Tyler Hero and who did we have? Yeah, we had, I think a lot of these cards don't play for a lot of people. In fact, I think Ben Simmons is the only card that plays for most people, maybe Kirilenko also. After that, you're talking about a bunch of cards that if you have the best team in the game or anything close to it, they have almost no chance of making your lineup. And I'm not even saying they're terrible, but I do think that Hero, Embiid, and Edwards are almost to the level of troll cards. Like, that's not what you're looking to get when you go and try to improve your team with your MT. So do I think this is a good Apology Tour? No, I think the proper thing to do is to have some form of the player market return. You promised us the player market, blah, blah. But what I said in the beginning, if you guys go back and watch that video, the reason I brought up the Apology Tour was for one thing. I didn't want you guys to forget the feeling that you had when they first destroyed the player market and said, we just want you guys to gamble and spend a bunch of money in all of your MT. And that's what we want you to do. My casino, our team, right? I wanted that feeling to remain in your heart so that you can hold them accountable as a community and on a united front. That was the point. As far as the Apology Tour, I've maintained, and I think pretty much every content creator has agreed with this. After a certain point, the free content has allowed you to have a good team. The free content has contained consistently some of the best cards in the game, right? You can build a team of pretty much entirely free content and have a fantastic team. If your team is all free content and just the best cards from the player market, especially post Corver, Gilmore, and Mike Miller, your team can be very, very good compared to the very best teams in the game. There's only a few gambling cards at this point that are gatekeeping the best team from the game from a really attainable team. Now, I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, but if you mix in a judicious pack pulling with your MT, right? So if you say, oh, I'm going to just pull, say, a 10 box every week. Again, not saying this is right. I'm saying if you did that, the chances of you getting one card, if you just say one dark matter that you really, really want that improves your team, now you're looking at being eye to eye with the best teams in the game, especially because it's not pay to win. It's pay to hope to win, right? So it's not like everybody who spends a bunch of money on the game has all of the 100 overalls. It's pure luck and bad odds, whether you spend money or you don't. For instance, I got that Kirilenko. I pulled, and I know this is going to make some people's stomachs bubble, but I pulled one pack. My method is with MT. I'm stacking MT for no reason. So if it's easy to lock in, I'll lock in. Meaning if I get lucky on the deluxe packs, if I get lucky with, the free packs and everything's going my way, I'll lock in. If not, I'll pull 5 to 10 packs. And if I get something, cool. If not, see you next week. And 1 week, I pulled 6, 7 packs and got Bol. And this last one in the Bionic, and you guys will see it in my gameplays, I have no Bionic cards except for the one that came out of the deluxe pack, and I think Sean Livingston, because I pulled 1 pack and got Kirilenko. And I was like, I'm not pulling any more packs. I got a Dark Matter on my first one and I'm done. And the thing is, that's what the odds are right now. I'm not a pack puller. I'm not a gambler in like the highs and lows of it. I just think strategically, if you're building a team, if you don't pull any packs at all with your MT is actually worthless, right? And if you're going to go lock in for 500 MT, it makes almost a sick sort of sense to be like, okay, let me spend a number of this 500 to see if I can cheapen this set, right? Can I lower the cost of this set? You guys hear some New York sounds in the background. And so when you go on that of like, okay, I'll lower the cost of this set if I can pull maybe an opal early, right? Or if I pull 3 pink diamonds in my first 5 packs, that lowers the cost, and now I'm not spending 550 KMT. I'm maybe only spending, depending on what I got, 400k, blah, blah, blah. And if you pull a Dark Matter, you can do what I did and just punt on the rest of the set, especially that garbage set, because I'm not chasing Ben Simmons. I don't even want Ben Simmons. That's not my style of card. So, I got the one card I would have used. It was either Kirilenko or Chris Webber, and I'm out of there. And so my point is, if it is not difficult to build a great team. That's never been the issue. The issue is, and I'll close out with this, I didn't want the apology tour to distract you from 2 things. Number 1, they went back on their word and they killed the player market. And number 2, you cannot build the team that you want, right? You should be able to get the cards that fit your preferences, your play style, and very importantly, your fandom. This whole mode is based off of you being a fan of some of these cards, either stylistically or because they're on your home team or they're your favorite player. And the fact that you can't do this, for me, whether or not your team is good is wholly irrelevant, right? Like, my team is fantastic. I haven't spent anything outside of buying the Pro Pass, not the Hall of Fame Pass, just the Pro Pass. I spend $10 every season. I literally buy no VC. My team's fantastic, and I don't even play the game mode as much because I also play Rec and Pro-Am, right? So I knew from the beginning that you could make a good team. And one of the things I said was these cards aren't actually as overpowered as they look. But the problem is you cannot get the cards that you want. If you love Kobe, no Kobe. Like, say, great, this Jalen Brunson is in the free collection. But suppose Jalen Brunson was the quote-unquote troll Dark Matter. Well, I'm a Knicks fan. I want the Jalen Brunson troll Dark Matter, right? So say I go and I pull packs, spend all my MT, and let's say I go crazy. I'm just such a big Knicks fan. I'm like, bump it. I'm going to spend money too. And let's say I get 100 overall, Tim Duncan, Paul George. I get all of these cards, except instead of Joe Johnson here, it's Jalen Brunson. And I just so happen to get all of these cards, the better cards, but not the one that I want. That's still a problem in the mode, because that's the point of the mode. It's called my team, not their team. And, the my casino and the their team stuff is what has to be fixed. And I want everybody to stay focused on that and not be distracted by, admittedly, I think fantastic free content, to be honest, free cards anyway. This is the first free content. I think this is decent. I think it could be better. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think the challenges were too annoying. I know the steals is a little annoying for some people, but other than that, pretty easy challenges. I wish it was more interesting, but that having been said, I do think this is good free content. I do think this is good free content in terms of the cards themselves, good free content. So yeah, I do think this is the apology tour, because we know what it looks like when they don't do this, because March Madness came and went and they didn't do anything, right? So they could have just done literally nothing and just left those playoff packs up there, and that would have been worse than what it is right now. So am I saying this is fantastic? No, I'm just saying what actually happened. And what actually happened is they finally put some content in the game. And because it is going on forward, I give it a little bit higher of a letter grade because it's not the only playoff content. We know there's going to be minimum 3 more rounds of this. And, at the end of it all, possibly some finals MVP sort of content, locker codes along the way or something like that. So yeah, that's my take on the recent content, the apology tour, and all of that stuff. Is it better? Yes. Is it good? No. I don't think it's good until the player market opens up, and it probably never will. I don't anticipate that we will have a player market probably ever again in the history of 2K. I think next year will most likely be a brand new model. But that having been said, if you are trying to make a good team, I actually think it's very, very easy to do. I don't think the mode requires you to spend a whole lot of money. The mode requires you, or any money at all. I think the mode requires you to just grind and get a little bit lucky with the MT you spend from grinding, and you'll get a team. And if you do it enough, mathematically, you will not strike out on every single collection. And you don't need to get every good card, because the thing about this game, and this is the last point I'll make, most of these good cards are basically good for months. And that's been consistent all year, right? So if you got, say you got that Ben Simmons, you can probably use him all of the rest of next season. Even this Clyde, you can probably use this Clyde as long as you want to. I don't think that Clyde's getting outdated anytime soon, right? Even some of the old, and I know people are going to hate that I say this, but Kobe's still usable. Like Pink Diamond Kobe, he's still usable because his release is really good and he plays good defense. He's not unusable. He's still better than a lot of the Pink Diamonds and Opals they release in his collection. Do you still want to use him? No, because he doesn't have great SIGs, and you're probably tired of using him because you used him for so long and you just want a new Kobe. I understand that. But the design of this year's game, because, and the reason it's not, cards don't get outdated as fast, is because they haven't put out of position stuff. They've been slowly growing the height of each position, but they haven't just flat out. Ben Simmons is the first super tall card, and because the game is so powered by SIGs and 3 hunting, Ben is great, but he can't do the stuff that you need from the best offensive point guards in the game. So yes, he makes your switch all defense better, but he doesn't make you overpowered like in past years where being taller was simply better. I think it's already been proven that 6'3" point guards at this point in the year still can play and still can compete and still can win you games. So, you only need to get a little bit lucky sometimes to get a good collection, but that's not the point. The point is not making a good team. The point is being able to make the team that you want to have fun in the mode and have some kind of pathway to getting that. And as Carlo said very well, it costs infinity dollars to get each one of these cards. Infinity. And that is unacceptable. So even though this is an apology tour, as far as Books Nelson is concerned, apology not accepted. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much, and peace.